if you didn't watch it over the weekend, the NFL Combine played out and is truly the underwear Olympics. And I mean that both pejoratively, but also literally, because these guys are working out and showing NFL teams what they're capable of by running, obviously, drills, going through interviews, psychological testing, physiological testing, all the different things that go into determining if you are a draftable candidate for one of 32 NFL teams. And the BYU football program had 2 guys at the Combine this year. And that doesn't mean that other guys on the periphery of this couldn't make the NFL. I think guys like Tanner Wall, Carson Ryan, Isaiah Jota, I think Austin Leusa, I think they will all get opportunities, hopefully, at the NFL level. But when it comes to going to the Combine, if you're invited to the Combine, have at least a draftable grade by enough teams that they deem you, obviously, of being worth bringing to Indianapolis to go through all the rigorous testing and the drills. So Jack Kelly was the first to go, and we'll go in sequential order here. And Jack, I thought, honestly, increased his draft stock. And I reached out to a couple NFL agents that I know, and neither one are representing either Chase or Jack to my knowledge. But in my communications with them, as sparse as they were, they believe that Jack Kelly absolutely helped his case in terms of his NFL draft stock. And Chase, sorry, we'll get to Chase in a minute, Chase Roberts. But in terms of Jack, his biggest thing was showing, he can run, and he did run very, very well. Jack ran, let's see, the official time, I got to pull this up here, was a 4.5 second of official 40-yard dash. Sub 4.6, that's a great number. His 10-yard split, 1.6 seconds, shows he's got that short burst speed. And obviously, the biggest thing for him was also showing his explosiveness. Now, he had a broad jump of 10 feet 5 inches, shows off that he's a good athlete. Vertical jump of 37 inches is okay. It's kind of marginal. But the biggest thing for a guy like Jack was obviously to show that he is just a football player first and foremost, but a guy who is capable of holding up against the NFL's best, because the position he's probably going to play is either a hybrid outside linebacker position or a true OLB in a 3-4 alignment. That's kind of where Jack is slated to play at the NFL level, because his greatest strengths in many respects are playing in space, rushing the passer, obviously doing some spy work, and obviously he's got to be able to hold up against the run. That's one thing that Lance Zierlein, who covers the NFL draft for NFL.com and does all these write-ups on these players, he highlighted that. In terms of Jack, he's going to have to show his capability of holding up against the run, and that's kind of hard to show when it comes to the NFL Combine, because you're just not going through run sets and blocking drills and having your pads on. So Jack, his biggest thing over the weekend was just showed that his testing in terms of his overall athleticism showed that he is as good of an athlete as the tape would suggest, because a lot of times NFL teams, they'll look at the tape, they look at the athleticism in terms of what they show at pro days or the NFL Combine, and they try and figure out, okay, does the athleticism show up on tape and vice versa? I know it sounds like a convoluted mess, and in some respects it is, but these people, they make multi-million-dollar decisions, and they do it off of stuff like the Combine and obviously watching the tape of the players playing football. Anybody, and I know the hundreds, if not thousands of you who are watching and or listening to this podcast, watched Jack Kelly show everything he was capable of. And the biggest thing I think the NFL teams will be intrigued by is his closing speed on the field is going to be something the NFL teams covet, because when you have an opportunity to get after a quarterback or make a play in space, the ability to close that space and make a play, it's much needed, because we're talking about the best athletes in football. If you probably have heard it, the funnel in terms of going from high school to college to the NFL, it's like the top 1% of high school players typically, and it's maybe more than that, maybe 1 to 5%, make it to a college football level. And then it's the 1% of those college football players who make it to the NFL. You have got to be among the best, if not the best, in the world at what you do to play at the NFL level. And I thought that Jack Kelly, his performance, I think I wouldn't say necessarily made his stock improve by leaps and bounds, but he improved it enough that I think he is absolutely draftable and probably a mid-round draft pick at this point. The situation with Chase Roberts, on the other hand, in terms of what he had to show was that, okay, what does he look like in terms of his overall athleticism? Now, Chase, as many of you know, is an older prospect, having served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So he's obviously got 2 years on a lot of the guys in his draft class. And the situation is his 40 time is going to do him no favors. And it's nothing against Chase. 4.64 seconds for anybody, yours truly included, is incredibly fast. But at the NFL level, among the 34 wide receivers who ran the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, it was dead last. Not great. And so the communication I had with those NFL agents that I talked about was that, okay, the speed element, I think everybody expected Chase to be nowhere near the top in terms of overall speed, but also it's kind of a rough look to be dead last. And it wouldn't surprise me if Chase decides to run the 40-yard dash once again at BYU's Pro Day, and they're not holding the Big 12 Pro Day that they've held the past couple of years. It just kind of flopped, and they've done away with it. BYU will hold their own Pro Day on March 20th. Down there at the indoor practice facility. And I look forward to seeing what Chase does in that in respects to what he did here. But the crazy thing is his other performances in terms of on-field work, 10 yards split, 1.6 seconds, a little bit slow there. At vertical jump, 37 inches. I was a bit surprised Chase didn't jump higher than that, because at 6'3", he was officially 6'3" at the NFL Combine. I thought he would jump higher than that. His broad jump, though, 10 feet 6 inches, that's a pretty good number. It shows he's got some athleticism and some explosiveness in his game. And personal opinion on the matter, because the people I talked to about him, they thought that he was kind of neutral in terms of what Chase was going to do when it came to the NFL draft, because he's considered to be a day 3 pick in kind of the back half, round 6 or 7. And I hope that he can improve on his numbers at the pro day. And we'll see if he ultimately decides to, perform again, because some guys can just say, hey, you know what? I did what I did to the pro day. I did what I did to the combine. I'm going to sit on it, and I'm not going to perform again at the pro day. I would think it would behoove Chase to train on the 40-yard dash a little heavier in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then show up at pro day at BYU and maybe push that to a sub 4.640. If you can push it into the 4.5 range, I think it absolutely would help his stock, because he's been a really, really sure-handed receiver. He's a tall target. We all know how good Chase has been during his years at BYU. But I think the biggest thing is he's got to show he is the type of athlete that's worth spending a draft pick on, because I just don't think that running the 40-yard dash that he ran is going to help his stock. And it may actually have made him slide on some teams' boards in terms of maybe taking him from maybe take a flyer on this guy because he's uber productive at the college level, but maybe we push him down to maybe priority free agent status and try and sign him after the draft. I hope that's not the case. And like I said, I hope that Chase gets an opportunity to improve on his numbers at pro day and really show that maybe the combine was a bit of an anomaly in terms of the 40-yard dash. But I think that his production at the collegiate level, just north of 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns. He did lead BYU in receiving in 2 of his 4 years, really kind of playing the role he played for BYU. The production is there. The biggest question, I think, for most NFL teams is his athleticism and his age worth spending a draft pick on at this point? And that's kind of the classic case when it comes to BYU, is guys who serve missions. Sometimes it just simply due to age, teams will say, hey, I'd rather have the younger prospect who has this maybe similar, if not better numbers, versus the older prospect with the production and maybe he's not the best athlete. And I hope it's not that case in Chase's situation here. I hope that he gets the opportunity to be an NFL draft pick, because there's only 250 some odd now of NFL draft picks. It's a pretty big honor to be one of the 250 some odd guys hearing your name called at the NFL draft. And I hope Chase gets that opportunity, but I hope that he improves on his numbers and performs well at BYU's pro day and does in fact earn that opportunity for himself. So very interested to see where it all shakes out, but that's kind of where things stand after the combine for both of these players, where I think that Jack Kelly, he did improve his standing, if not solidified it where he was at. Whereas Chase, I think he, like I said, the people I talked to felt like he was kind of neutral, but personal opinion on the matter, think he may have hurt his stock just a touch, but there's still a pro day for him to go out there and show that he is indeed the type of player that is worth being an NFL draft pick.